My ex had 7 affairs, with 6 of them with my coworkers, including my boss. But to start, I'm going to the beginning. Please take a moment to support the channel by hitting the thumbs up. We were college sweethearts who got married right out of school, had a child, and lived happily ever after. At least, that's what I wish. My world came crashing down when I found my wife coming out of a hotel at 6 a.m. in the morning with my former boss when she was supposed to be on a business trip. She left me at home babysitting the kids. Let me give you a background story. Right out of college, she got a job at a large retail corporation's headquarters and she moved through the ranks quickly. Well, I opened a business because I've always wanted to work for myself. When I was nearly 27, my business wasn't doing well because of the economic crisis, and I had to get back to the workforce. My wife used her connections to get me a job because at that time we needed income because she was about to have our second child, which means more mouths to feed. I was able to apply for a job and got it. I accepted a job at the same workplace as my wife, but we were in separate departments. Now, my wife was making more than me at the time because I was fresh in the workforce and she had risen fast in the company. I remember having a beer with a male coworker, and he mentioned in passing that he heard from someone in my wife's department that my wife was friendly with a lot of the senior execs and was there flirty around the job and was being passed around. I was upset by that and nearly got into a fight with him. I chucked it up to the alcohol and thought it was just a rumor, which I literally scoffed at because I knew that it had to be false. I trusted my wife so much and thought I knew her more than anyone. It had to be just some petty jealousy of her success that was driving it because I trusted her without question. I was naive. I quit the job after my wife came back from maternity leave, and I soon after picked back up on the business and assumed the role of stay-at-home dad. This connected or relationship had its ups and downs, just like any other relationship, but nothing stood out to me or convinced me that she was having an affair or worse. Fast forward 7 years later, she was still working at the same job place, but now a director. We now have 3 kids. I work from home, and I am a full-time dad. I only work part-time, but my business is doing well enough. So we are making almost the same. I thought we had made it. We have enough to be taking vacations more often, but my wife had different plans. She spends 2 nights out of the week traveling for work. I told her to spend more time with her family, and we don't need money that much for her to be traveling often. We have 3 small children, and they need their mother. And they need to see their mom as well. She told me that her job wouldn't allow her to, and she has sacrificed so much to not give up on the opportunity. We had that conversation several times, and her excuse was always that she would be getting this promotion next year that wouldn't require any traveling. She'd been saying that for the past 3 years. She would argue with me that she is always there for our kids because they have cell phones and can reach her anytime they want. Our oldest is 8 and doesn't have a cell phone, but those are her responses to get out of being a mother to our kids. I would let it go since our conversation wasn't going anywhere. I accepted the role of a full-time stay-at-home dad and a 50-50 financial contributor. Her job was to come home 4 times out of a week and think she can pay her way out by buying toys for the kids. It didn't bother me much because I enjoy spending time with my 3 kids, picking them up from school and being involved in their lives. I just wish my wife would see the value in spending more time with the kids and not just thinking she could manipulate her way out of everything. Using our bedroom life was average. We would do it maybe once or twice a week. That has continued since she had our first child. It was never a problem for me because I understand that we have busy lives. Everything changed one day with a chance encounter with a former coworker that still works with my wife. We got talking, those sorts of small talk, and I made a comment to him about how hectic my wife's work schedule is and how she is traveling all the time. He works in my wife's department, so he knows her day in and day out. His reaction when I mentioned about my wife's frequent traveling gave me the impression that something wasn't right. I knew I couldn't interrogate him further because it would be awkward because we weren't close. So I made a mental note to investigate the issue further. When I went back home, the suspicion grew further, and I had a sense that my wife was up to something. She always dresses well for work, so I couldn't say her wardrobe has changed, and we still have the same connection we had when we started dating, except that she was traveling more often since I became a stay-at-home dad. I decided to investigate further by putting a GPS tracker on her vehicle. I noticed that she would spend the night at several hotels within 30 miles of her workplace on the days that she was supposed to be traveling. I decided to show up at one of the hotels one day to find out what was going on. I hired a babysitter and stayed in the parking lot until the following morning when she came out from the hotel with my former boss, who happened to be her work colleague at the time. That pretty much answered most of the questions I had. They weren't even hiding it. I was shocked beyond words. I rushed out of my car to confront them. She tried to turn and act like I was blind, and I told her that our marriage is over. It then dawned on me that I should have known this all along. What one of my former coworkers said about 7 years before was true. I told her not to come back home and she should stay with her affair partner. About a week after her affair, I wanted to get the full story because rumor has it that she had been having affairs with multiple men at her job. We met and I told her that I will consider taking her back if she comes clean. Without belaboring further, I did finally get to the point where I had to know what was going on and she was not willing to discuss, so I took it upon myself to do some research. This was when I discovered with 100% certainty that she was in the middle of her 7th affair of our 9-year marriage, with 6 of the men being people that she worked with on a daily basis. One long-term affair with my former boss. I was floored and completely broken. I proceeded to file for divorce, got through that painful process, got separated a few weeks after. Her pleading and begging were of no use. After having affairs with people she has worked with on a daily basis, some of them I know, all of them married or in a serious relationship, making me look like a complete fool. No amount of sorry is going to make me go back with her. I still receive pleading text messages from her months after, but I'm absolutely done with her. The worst part of this story was that I took a DNA test, and my middle child isn't biologically mine. It broke my heart, and I haven't fully recovered. When I showed her the test result, she denied it, and we both went and got a second test that confirmed it. She wanted me to keep her secret for her, but I refused to. I took the cruel. I sent a letter to the wives of all the men she cheated with to tell them that I need a DNA test for my son. Not surprising, most of their relationships are currently on the rocks. It didn't take long for the news to spread. It got so bad that she quit her job and took down her social media. I'm currently in a relationship with a lady, an old classmate of mine, and I'm being really cautious with this one, but she doesn't hint at any trait of cheating. We've got things hitting pretty good, and I'm genuinely happy. I got full custody of my 3 children, and I try as hard to avoid my ex-wife. But to know that she is miserable and works a lower-paying job in a different field, and everyone that knew us knows how she destroyed our marriage. I'm still trying to recover, and I take things day by day. I've become a person that I would never have expected. I very much enjoy my life. Please take a moment to support the channel by hitting the thumbs up button for more stories like this.